4:19, it says, "My little children, from whom I labor in birth again, until Christ is" what? "Formed in you." Notice how the apostles were when they leave the form of doctrine they were delivered to. He engendered them in the beginning, but when they walked away from his doctrine, what he's emphasizing here, and it's the point I'm trying to make, what it allows us to see is that there was a different form of doctrine, and that other form of doctrine, you imagine what I'm going to say. Who teaches that other form of doctrine? Well, you know there are two gospel. There's the gospel of circumcision and the gospel of uncircumcision. So the circumcision took the brethren in Galatia and deformed them. So Paul says to them, listen, I've engendered you with the doctrine of grace. But then when the apostles, the 11 apostles, when they visited that church that didn't know grace and that maintained a different form of doctrine, a different form of teaching, because circumcision teaches differently. So then that doctrine doesn't form Christ in you. And it is necessary that Christ is formed. That is the man created according to God, that Paul says to the Ephesians, clothed in the new man created according to God, according to the holiness of truth. So then I had here a board here. Remember, I used to use this form of teaching in the past. But I have here, well, there are two covenants. And those two covenants, one is of the law and one is of grace. So then there are two gospels. In the book of Galatians 2:7, we can see those two gospels. And it is important to make emphasis in this, because all of the evangelicals and Catholics and Christians, and not understanding that there are two gospels, they're preaching as if they were just one. It says, but on the contrary, when they saw that the gospel for the uncircumcision had been entrusted to me, as the gospel of the circumcision was to whom? To Peter. So there's to say there are two gospels, not four gospels, as the religious system says. The book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, those are historical books. But Paul, the master builder, says there are two, uncircumcision and circumcision. So then those two gospels produce two forms of teachings, two forms of doctrine. So this is what's happened, that people have mixed these two gospels. And the church is only supposed to maintain one gospel. They accuse us that, oh, you only teach Paul, as I mentioned initially. Yes, because Paul has the form of the true gospel, the uncircumcision. And those two gospels produce what? Two apostleships, apostolates. Say with me, two apostolates. Well, there is to say that there is an apostolate of Peter and the rest of the apostles, and an apostolate of Paul personally. So those two apostolates are born of two Jesus.